If your hook link doesn't lay flat on the lake bed, then the carp could be spooking off your rig loads of times and you won't know anything about it. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 different ways for attaching your hook link to the main line so that it doesn't loop up and the carp won't spook off your spot. So the first method I'd like to look at is one that's actually the most simple way of doing it. All I'm going to do is tie a rig directly onto a swivel. So to join the rig to the swivel, I'm going to do blood knot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll just do a standard blood knot to start with, see how that goes. And then I'm just going to wrap the mono around my fingers a few times and we're going to cinch that down carefully like that. Be very careful not to slip, otherwise the hook will dive into your hand. And by using a blood knot, we avoid much in the way of kinks there, so it's come out pretty straight really, so that's not bad at all. So if you're worried about using something simple like a blood knot on mono, you know, as long as it's decent size mono, 0.40, and we give it a lift here, there we go. So that's a very, very strong knot. So there you go. If you're looking to keep things as simple as humanly possible, but you want it really strong, just tie direct to a swivel, absolutely no issues with doing that. It's a really, really strong way of doing it. Let's drop it in the tank test and let's see how this rig sits in a fishing situation. So I'm just going to drop this in the tank and I'm literally going to drop the buoy and kind of aim for the lead, so kind of worst case scenario. And there we go, not too bad at all. The bait's landed fairly close to the lead, but to be honest, I don't worry much about that. I could have done with a little bit of putty in order to pin that loop just in the middle there, but you know, we'll have a few more drops at this. Again, could have done with some putty there. You can also see the huge advantage it would be to actually land that rig and hit the clip. So to send the bait forward and drop it like that, it would sit much better. Could still do with some putty in the middle of that rig in order to pin it down though. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to change that regular swivel for a ring swivel to get more pivot. We're also going to add a little tungsten sleeve and a tungsten sinker, just to make sure that it goes down every time. I've used a couple of tungsten sinkers, and the one is to hold the tungsten sleeve in place and the other one is just to add a little bit of weight mid-section. Right, let's see how this goes. Oh, well, that's pretty good. I like that. I know the bait's landed right next to the lead, but like I say, I'm really not bothered about that because I know that I'm going to hit that clip and I'm going to throw the bait away from the lead anyway. Yeah, even though it's actually landed in a curl, again, that hook link has landed absolutely flat. So we can see that the additional weight in that short little sleeve, I mean that's the shortest sleeve, there's 3 different lengths of those. Just that extra weight in that tungsten sleeve and that extra pivot and a little bit of extra weight there is really helping this. There we go, down again, beautiful. If you've not used tungsten sinkers before, then don't worry, you can recycle them. In order to reuse them from one rig to another, what you can do is you can carefully thread them back onto this little tool, or if you're struggling to do that, then you can buy one of these special little tools for recycling tungsten sinkers. You could also use a needle threader out your mum's sewing box or a pole threader, anything like that. As long as it's very small and very fine, it enables you to recycle these components, because I hate throwing things away. So I found those tricks work really well with my super simple mono hair rig. But if you're using, you know, traditional coated materials with a section stripped back, these tricks don't always work, and it's all because there's a supple section down by the hook. Next I want to show you another very, very simple way of connecting rigs to mainline, and that's the old classic loop to loop. So I've just fished out one of my little supple multi-rigs here. This is the blowback multi, done as a pop-up style, and it's designed for fishing inside a medium solid PVA bag. Got a little size 8 ring swivel here. It could be a regular swivel or a ring swivel. It doesn't make any difference because we're going to be loop to looping with braid. When designing loop-to-loop connections like this, just make sure that the loop that you've tied is larger than the bait that you're going to be using. So this is a little 15mm citrus pop-up, and that's going to fly over there, no problem at all. To make the loop-to-loop connection, all I do is pass that loop through the swivel, open up the loop, pass the pop-up through, pass the hook through, then the split shot, then that final bit of putty, and there we go. No need to pull that tight at all, that won't go anywhere. So I've made up this multi-rig with 35 armour link, and all I've done is I've done 2 overhand knots under here. That's all there is, and then there's a bit of shrink tubing and then a blob of putty over the top just to help it sink. And we put it on the kettlebell here. There we go, 8 kilo, absolutely no issue at all. So we're good for strength. Let's drop him in the tank and see how it sits. Right, let's drop him in first try. And yeah, not too bad. I mean, the whole lot would normally go in a solid PVA bag, so I'm really not bothered again that pop-up sitting quite over the lead, because that's actually how it would sit. The whole lot would be buried by bait anyway. Even when the hook link falls over the lead, that putty is doing its best just to kind of keep that hook link out the way as best as possible. I've gone through loads of putty over the years when I just used to mould it over the knot, just because it got rubbed off or knocked off or fell off. But I've found that the shrink tube, it gives it more surface area to stick to, and you can actually peel it off and reuse it. It's just something that is working much better for me. So a little time and trouble to add a little bit of shrink tube over those knots just helps. Loop-to-loop connections are perfect for joining braided rigs to the mainline swivel, and that's pretty much what I use them for all the time. You can do a loop-to-loop connection with mono, but depending on the size of the mono and depending on the swivel, it doesn't quite sit right all the time. The other material that's suitable for using loop-to-loop connections are coated braids. This is some 35 skin link, which is incredibly abrasion resistant. It really is bomb proof, this stuff. And I've just looped it to a size 8 ring swivel. Because of the stiffness of that material, I don't tend to add things like tungsten sleeves or tungsten sinkers or any putty even, because the whole thing is stiff enough. I'm normally dropping them into flowing water, or if I'm doing big reservoir work, I'm feeling the lead through 18 foot of water, so I've got plenty of time to make contact with the lead and land the rig. So I don't think those extra bits kind of add anything in that kind of situation. This is another rig I use as a loop-to-loop connection. It's the classic multi-rig with a little supple section stripped back just underneath the split shot there. I don't tend to add any extra sleeves or tungsten sinkers to this either, because you've got the weight of the pop-up, and I've always found it sits nice. I'm really convinced that having the size 8 ring swivel as a pivot there just helps it spin away. The weight of the pop-up sinks the whole thing. We've got the supple bit to create that hinge, and I really can't make this one go wrong. Absolutely bomb proof. The last thing I want to look at are the quick change helicopter swivels. Now, of course, all the manufacturers do these, but I've looked at quite a few, and do be careful, there is a difference in quality sometimes. On the rig front, I've just got a simple mono hair rig, but what you've got to bear in mind is when you're using these quick change swivels is you've got to use a sleeve, especially when you're using thin materials, to keep the hook link securely in place. So I've got a basic helicopter lead system here. Again, we've got the Klingon, little helicopter sleeve, and this bead is a little tapered bead, and this absolutely flies up here. There's a huge bore in this bead, so it's super safe. It absolutely flies through. Even if there was a bit of weed, it's going to go through no problem. That just snugs down in place like that. Then you've got the helicopter quick change swivel, and we can clip our rig directly onto that. So to do that, we just pass the loop that we've tied there. This is what you've got to watch with different manufacturers of these. If this gap is not big enough, I've found that it can actually damage the hook link as you engage. This has got a nice wide gap, so it's absolutely no issue whatsoever. That tucks on there. little tungsten sleeve just slides neatly over the top. Now don't push it too far because you don't want that sleeve to interfere with the barrel there. Just make sure it can spin, but you've covered the leg completely. I'm using a really short sleeve here, and because of the length of the loop knot I've done, yes, you can see the knot. That might bother you, it really doesn't bother me. These sleeves are available in different lengths anyway, so I could have used a medium in this situation. The nice thing about this product is it's doing exactly what we want on the helicopter rig. We want this kind of stiffness. We've got this pivot here, that's great, we want that, but what we don't want the hook link kind of hanging down loosely against the lead, and you can see it's always trying to jack it away as well. Now the helicopter rig gets its name because in flight the rig is spinning around like that, and this is what keeps it straight and anti-tangle. Quick change swivels work great of course with standard coating materials. I've just clipped one of my river rigs on to fish it helicopter style, and that'll work just fine. Quick change swivels are great when you're using even heavier materials. This is a combi multi made from a 35-pound section of fluorocarbon and then a 35-pound section of doubled over armour link to form a combi multi-rig. 35-pound fluorocarbon is pretty heavy stuff, impossible to do something like a loop-to-loop connection, so your only option really are tied direct or using a quick change option like this. So there you go. If you don't want to see the hook bait anywhere near the lead, use a fluorocarbon boom and it will literally sail itself off as far away as possible. You can also get these quick change swivels in a universal form so that they'll go inside a lead clip. I've just popped one in this lead clip here now. I've got some coated material, pop that on like that. Then got to put the sleeve on, remember, and you'll notice it changes the way that this rig is going to work. Whereas with the loop-to-loop and the size 8 ring swivel we had a lot of movement, now we've got restricted movement. Now this can be good, but it can be bad. It all depends on what you're doing. I've just made this hook link up kind of traditional swimmer rig style with a little soft supple coated section stripped back. I haven't put any putty on here yet. We've got a supple hair as well, and let's drop that in the tank and see how this works. We can see that that hook link has looped up somewhat, so we definitely need some extra putty on there. Even with that short anti-tangle tungsten sleeve, it's really not doing enough, and it's because of this supple section here. Right, let's have another few goes with that. That one's worked better. Now that's gone very badly there. It's so important with coated materials to get some extra putty on there, and you know, if you're using tungsten stingers, you know, use the big heavy ones or put plenty of putty on, because that looks horrible, that does. I'm sure this quick link swivel in this situation is not helping us. It was much better with a size 8 ring swivel loop to loop, because this looks awful like that. So those are the main options open to us for connecting rigs to mainline. They've all got their pros and cons, and some of you might have been fishing the same way for years and years and years and have loads of confidence in that, and that's fine, that's cool. But just bear in mind that there might be a better way of tweaking your setup just to get it all to pancake flat and get those extra bites.